Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at muscle loss and muscle gain on a solid food vacation, also known as a juice fast. How much muscle does the average person lose on a juice fast? We should not lose any muscle at all, because the very first of the three things I always tell people to do on a solid food vacation is to make sure you give the body everything it needs. I did a special video on how to calculate the calories you need. I'll add a link down below in the description box. You'll see the calories and juices, ideal weight. You can go to that video and calculate how much you need for the day. Now we know if by default we drank at least half of that in vegetable juice, we will get enough protein. And remember, I always say, we should never drink fruit juice on an ongoing basis, and might not want to do it on a juice fast for many reasons. But we always have to weigh both sides. Everyone is unique and different. And some people just won't go the distance if they do a whole lot of fruit. And as a result, they might not be getting enough protein. But we can make up for that by adding some spirulina, really high in protein, close to 8 grams of protein per tablespoon, to our juices, and that will be okay. This is still a solid food vacation. We could even go to some of the hemp protein powders, and I know there's a little bit of controversy over that. But if you're really concerned and you end up drinking mostly fruit juices, that's what you might want to do. So when I coach people, I tell them, look, ideally 100% vegetable juices. If you do that, you won't have to worry anything about protein, I guarantee it. But there are a lot of issues with that, with doing 100% vegetables. It's a little more costly, it's more time consuming. And for some of us, we might not appreciate the flavor as much. I'm trying to dance around and find some shade here. So, for some of us, we might not be able to afford any vegetables. We might have to do almost all fruit juices. But try to get at least 1 pint of vegetable juice in you a day. And if you're down that low, then you'll definitely want to consider adding something else that's a little bit higher in protein to ensure that we're getting everything we need. The only other way we can lose muscle mass when we're on a solid food vacation, if we don't get enough calories. Remember, we got to keep that carbohydrate fuel tank full. It's a small fuel tank. We don't want it to empty. That's why we got to drink a minimal amount of calories per day to keep that carbohydrate fuel tank full. So by default, half gallon of fruit, half gallon of vegetables, you'll get all the carbohydrates and all the protein you need, providing you're getting the calories. So if you're really active, you might have to drink 2 gallons of juice or 8 liters of juice to make sure you get everything you need. And again, if you're doing mostly fruit, you might not get enough protein. Although when you look at how much protein is in watermelon juice, that's 8%, cantaloupe is 9%. But when you go to your greens, like spinach is almost like 50%. All your leafy greens are really high in protein. If you do a 50-50 glass of spinach and carrot juice, a pint of that, that's 10 grams of protein. If you're doing a gallon of those a day, 8 pints, that's 80 grams of protein. Remember, this is raw protein, and it has twice the biological value of cooked protein. So as you can see, you can actually gain muscle on a solid food vacation, and I know I've done it. I was able to put an inch on my chest in a 30-day period of time on a juice fast, on a solid food vacation, simply by changing my routine. Instead of lifting weights where I bench press and lat pull, and I did a video on that. I'll put a link down below if you want to see how I do that. It only takes about 4 or 5 minutes to push and pull, do that 3 times. And I switched from doing that, because it only took 4 or 5 minutes, to going outside and doing push-ups. And then I would do horizontal lat pulls where I'd be pulling myself up where my body was horizontal. Again, working my back. And the thing is, when you use your body weight, you got to do it a whole bunch more times. I do like 100 plus push-ups to really get my muscles fatigued. And the thing about building muscle mass, we use the overload principle. We make the muscle tired, we make it keep working, then it has to adapt. The key here is to understand how important form is. Because when the body gets tired, it knows how to cheat intentionally to make it easier, don't you see? And what does it do? Well, it changes the angle. So let's say if I was doing some inner thigh exercises, let's assume this is my thigh muscle, my leg instead, and I'm doing inner thigh muscles. As these muscles get tired, right, what happens? I just change, as those muscles get tired, I'll just change the angle a little bit. I'm using different muscles, you see. Or I'll start swinging, I'll use my body and I'll start swinging. So when you see people lifting weights and they're bouncing off their chest and pushing it up, they're cheating, they're using momentum. We don't want to do that if we want to build muscle mass. We want to fatigue the muscle, make it keep working. So when I changed my routine and went from 4 to 5 minutes to 10, 12 minutes or so, because I had to do a lot more to fatigue myself, I saw better results because when you're lifting weights, you're only getting really results on that very last rep in the last third set. Whereas while I'm doing these push-ups, I work to fatigue. I'll do about 60 where I can't do any more, and then I'll come up and rest and go back down and do 5 more. But I'll come up and do a little quick stretch, and I'll take like a 5-6 second break and go back and do 5 more. I do that like 10 more times. So what I'm doing is I'm really making my muscles work once they are tired. And the key here is when you're using your body weight, you can control your form better. Again, you got to control your form. Don't use momentum, and keep the angle the same angle. So you can gain muscle on a solid food vacation, and you don't even have to be lifting weights to do that, because I've worked with lots of people who come to me who are underweight, and they gain weight on a solid food vacation. I can think of a woman I worked with a while back that had lupus for about a decade, barely 90 pounds, was 96 a month later, and was able to get pregnant. She's been trying to get pregnant for 10 years and got pregnant. Is that exciting or what? I'm telling you, man, a solid food vacation is powerful. If you're, the only possible other way you might lose muscle mass on this program, on a solid food vacation, is sometimes your body's just so crappy. It's built out of such inferior material. It wants to break it down, the catabolism part of this, but the anabolism part can't keep up. And this happens a lot with people on a raw food diet. You'll hear this all the time of a person who's 6 foot tall, who's already slender, like 140. Each raw food goes down to 120. Next thing you know, they're back up to 140 on the same diet they lost that weight on, and they're maybe up to 160. And the reason for that is, again, because sometimes our body can't build up tissue faster than it can break it down. But I don't find that to be true mostly with a solid food vacation, because we're consuming so much more nutrients than we would if we were eating the food by itself. So if you do, don't be too alarmed. I can understand the concern, but you'll gain the weight back if all you're doing is breaking down tissue faster than you can build it back up. But you got to make sure you're consuming enough. That's the key. Calculate how many calories you need. If you're active, you have to add to that. If you're above average, you got to add to that. Remember, muscle is what burns calories, so you can have 2 people weigh 200 pounds, and there's a huge difference in their needs based on how much lean body tissue they have. So go down below and check out my seminars on how to calculate those calories. I did a seminar on how to do a solid food vacation. Uploaded a couple videos to motivate you guys. The Deborah Duncan show and the Dr. Roby interview are really must see and listen to really get yourself motivated, because when you do this, you're in for a treat.